students can can book the classroom ahead of time to see whether, as in like, they can book the classrooms, right? Is there any like limitation on how many groups can be in the classroom at one time? Or do you see any possible disputes as well?
Okay, I think you got the wrong idea. It's more because for now students cannot book these rooms, and the schedules are quite tight. So we have made available the timetable about what classes are going on when, so that you can plan accordingly, that you fit your discussions in the free slots. So at first we don't actually plan to implement a booking system because it will be along the main corridor where most important classes are. So,
do you see any possible misuse of these classrooms? What is it? The students can just enter whenever there is no official classes in there, right? So do you see, do you find that will there be an overcrowding of these rooms?
It's up to the students here. So what do you mean by overcrowding?
Like hogging of the rooms.
Prof. I believe engineering students, N.U.S students in general are quite matured for their age, so I believe that they will be able to, discuss among themselves and find a resolution for such small problems. And also, let's not forget that if there are lessons the next day, well, eventually the students who are hogging the room have to leave the room. So by making available the discussion rooms, the time for discussion rooms to be available, I think students can arrive early and they can settle among themselves how best to manage who uses the room. Yeah, I believe it's a very, very reasonable thing to suggest that they can discuss among themselves, and they're quite civil. N.U.S students are quite civil. So with regards to the booking system, well, we did discuss that with you the first time we met, Prof. Not the rest of you, that's last. But Prof. We did discuss with you the first time we met, and we actually said, let's hold that in a timeline first. Let's make the discussion rooms themselves the focus. Let's make the discussion room themselves the success. And after that, then we can talk about the nitty-gritty, such as booking the discussion rooms here and there. Yeah, but let's try to make discussion rooms a success first.
Then for discussion rooms, right, can students from other faculties use? For that, right, definitely students from other places, because it's going to be made available, they definitely can use it, but as said, primarily because it's going to be located within engineering itself. So we are actually serving the engineering community first because it's more convenient for them. So even if other people from other faculties would like to use it, sure they can, but to them maybe it's a bit more inconvenient because they have to travel here. And so let's say if I'm from the faculty of business, I have my own discussion space. Primarily I will use those areas, but if I decide to come to engineering, sure, why not? Because it's still made available. Yeah, but what we are actually trying to improve mainly is for engineering students. Yeah.
Plus we get more funding if we say it's for N.U.S students in general, mind you. Any other questions from the floor?
I believe there's one slide where you show discussion clusters, right? There's this picture of a long corridor with a lot of rooms. Are those currently being used for the same purpose?
That was just a picture.
Yeah, that's just like a representation. We haven't chosen the corridor or place yet, but it's essentially a corridor of existing tutorial rooms, which we plan to upgrade in our first phase. But later on, as Prof. Anand mentioned to us, there are plans for developing a new building within engineering. So we hope to integrate this new idea of a discussion cluster right into it from the beginning. So that was just an example.
Is there a reason why N.U.S hasn't thought of this or implemented your ideas yet?
I guess N.U.S has already implemented the ideas into UTown, but let's keep in mind that University Town is generally a very, very wealthy town compared to the rest of the faculties, because their funding is they have an exceptional budget, as you may know. And for other faculties, for example, business and arts, they already have very discussion-oriented syllabus. So their classrooms are still, they're not to our concept, but the furniture is at least movable. They're actually fixed movable chairs, but not like the chairs we propose, a cheaper version. And that's because they already have a discussion-oriented syllabus. Whereas for NUS, with our new curriculum, like Michael has mentioned, we have this new creative curriculum. So right now, what we are seeing is actually the increasing need because of that design-centric curriculum for more discussion spaces in engineering. So we're basically the last to catch up to the rest of the faculties. I'm not very sure about science, but for business and arts, definitely they have catered this more design-oriented classroom for their students. But for us, we are still catching up because we have just implemented the design-centric curriculum.
Actually, what's the design-centric curriculum?
Oh, it's actually for filming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, for filming, okay, the design-centric curriculum is from engine. During the year that we matriculated, they actually said that engineering actually said that they didn't want so much lab work. So they would give you a problem to work on, and you have to work in groups of 4 to 8 to solve that problem, be it a practical application or just a proposal. So me, Arich, Noel, and myself had to do a lot more problem solving. I'm sure Chris as well. We have to do a lot more problem solving stuff. Yeah, here in our time in engineering compared to previously where everything was just textbook and assessments.
So it's like a change in the curriculum.
Yeah, curriculum per se, yeah.
So it's like an alternate curriculum. It's not compulsory to be under the design-centric curriculum because they just started implementing it, so it's an option the students take that you can.
Or is it like a module?
No, it's your whole 4 years are designed around that.
So you decide you have to fulfill university requirements. So it's like under like say critical thinking and writing. I'm not sure whether you have it, but we have to do it. So it's one of the compulsory modules.
It's like problem-based learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your core modules are not designed like this for discussions?
Not most of them. Most of the electives have a lot of textbooks and about.
Only for the...
There are certain project modules that we embark on. There maybe about one project every semester where we work in groups and you have to meet outside class. There's no teacher to facilitate, they just give you a problem, and at the end of the semester you present it to the teachers. So that's why there's this increasing need for discussion spaces among us and our peers.
Yeah, the thing is in like both of us are from electrical engineering and we already have a lot of projects. But the thing is in other courses they have relatively lesser projects compared to us. So in this design-centric curriculum, make sure that everybody are actually engaging in discussions. That way there are a lot of people actually holding discussions within campus now.
So one module a semester that is design-centric, that requires a lot of discussion.
I think for the last course,
At least one.
At least.
Yeah. So let's say for me, for mechanical engineering, we have a design project which is actually lasting the whole semester. I mean, not just one semester, but the whole year. So it's just design. So it's 100% design and collaboration based. Yeah.
So what percentage of students will engage in this discussion base?
Oh, everyone is compulsory.
yeah.
Can I ask you, what is it that you have chosen for your mobile furnitures? The one that students can actually freely move around from one place to another. Why propose that kind? And why not opt for the arts and business one, where you say that it's cheaper?
Because we can make our classroom multi-purpose. We can set the desks and chairs to be like this. It's a tutorial room. And if we place the desk in a circle, it's a discussion room. So it can cater for the needs both for teaching and discussion. Because our pilot project is based on those classrooms. They are mainly for teaching, and when they don't have a class, they can be discussion rooms. So we need to make the classroom fit both purposes.
So I guess the main benefit of using our furniture is that unlike arts and business where they are mostly discussion based, engineering is engineering, is quite dry, and there are lectures and there are tutorials. So I guess the furniture that we use for lecture actually integrates very seamlessly from a lecture venue, like you can see in the video, from a lecture venue to a discussion space. It's very, very seamless. And that's why we feel that it's worth investing in depending on your budget.
I think the idea is good, and there is certainly a need for such discussion spaces. But I think what we're more concerned of is how you're going to carry it out and solve the possible problems like what Prof. Ang suggested just now. The hogging thing, because I don't think anyone here would say no to this kind of idea, seeing where NUS is moving forward, like trying to get people to be engaged in more discussion kind of thing.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but you see, I feel that in any university or in any case when there's a good facility available for students or for anyone for that matter, right? There needs to be some sort of responsibility, and you cannot just say restrict everything and no, you can only come here and you must use your matric card, for example, if you use the room. So even so, students will still continue, let's say they talk. So it's actually what we would say. I mean, the problem I feel that yes, it's sort of inevitable, but then maybe you can do things like have, for example, you have your matric card center, like what I just mentioned. So in a sense, you actually restrict, but obviously we cannot fully, fully just have strict control over the hogging thing. I mean, you can have CCTVs, you can have your campus staff security, but then it would just dampen, I feel that it would just dampen the atmosphere. I mean, why everything would be so rigid? Other universities in Ivy League or whatsoever, they actually already have these rooms, and I mean, if students hog, then it's just a complaint, but we should be, I believe that as what Eric mentioned, we should be mature enough to be able to settle these small discrepancies or these small disputes among students themselves.
I'm not very convinced with Eric's explanation, because I think his explanation is like sort of like a perfectionist kind of politically correct answer to our question. So I'm just saying that there is a need for guidelines.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure the demand is always greater than what you can give, right? So that's why there should be a systematic guideline of how they implement it and how they let the students use it. Hogging is one thing, and then what happens if the facilities are spoiled when you use it? Well, yeah, okay, maybe not stolen, but it's movable. And then I'm very concerned about smart board kind of thing. So you probably don't have a CCTV in the room, right? Then, but how do you regulate those kind of things? And how do you attract people?
Well, I guess that's an administrative problem. But if you were to ask me, for my personal opinion, I would put CCTVs outside the room, and just the matric card scanning system alone actually allows us to track who was in the room at whatever time possible, at whatever time. And if there's a certain discrepancy, if equipment is spoiled, you can just call the person back. Because there's a record and there's a trace, the black and white record. But like me and my groupmates have said, we want to be the envy of other faculty. We want to be the envy of other universities. We're not going to do that by just having strict restrictions and going, hey, this is only for engineering students. We want people to come over, use their facilities, and envy us, NUS and engineering faculty alike.
Just to add a little bit more on, so like you're talking about CCTVs, but even our computers, right, you have to log on using our user ID. So and then to use the smart board, I mean, because you definitely need to plug in or log on, so we can actually use our login system that we currently have in NUS. But like all these specifics, if we want, we can actually like work it out in detail. But that is why we're proposing a pilot project first. So if we start with a few classrooms, I mean, we can try and predict a lot of problems right now, like as you have mentioned. But once we start our pilot project, then we can actually see what are the actual problems are, so that when we have our larger discussion cluster, we can actually see how we can solve these problems and integrate it within the bigger and final proposal that we're actually asking for. Yeah.
Okay, moving past the pilot project, right? What is the ultimate aim?
In a complete discussion cluster, a set of rooms, a whole corridor or more, like in different parts of the faculty, you have these rooms which are discussion based.
So it doesn't mean that you're going to transform every single room like this into a discussion cluster, which is actually nice.
No, the idea
is that the ultimate aim, as in moving past the pilot project now?
Yeah.
You get a vision that
yeah, okay, I can see a vision, but the thing is, it is not, it is physically possible like within the next few years at least. So we plan to first cater to the immediate needs of the students, and like while it's a good thing to have all rooms discussion based, I think it's still we need to have a few standard rooms. Like for example, the seminar rooms are all they don't have similar furniture, but we need those rooms for presentations like a FYP presentation as well. So we will not be converting the whole of engineering into discussion-based classrooms, but a set of rooms in different areas which students can go to. For example, in CL you have a few discussion rooms, but you don't have a whole floor for holding discussions.
As you can see, our engineering faculty hosts different types of classes. Some of them are tutorials, which this kind of setting is suitable for tutorials. And others are seminars like this English classes. Those need a lot of discussion. So we created the discussion room for that class. And those unchanged tutorial room is for tutorial.
So what advantage I see in your plan is the flexibility to change a conventional classroom setting into a discussion-based setting. So, why restrict yourself? You can always change back yourself. I thought that's a selling point of your idea, that is very flexible.
Yeah, that's one of the things. But like she mentioned, it's going to be only a few rooms. But basically, it's because when you have flexibility, in a sense, has to be some sort of compromise that we actually recognize is that it can actually hold less people. But for our engineering faculty, for N.A.M.E itself, mechanical engineering itself, we already have like 700 students. EE we have like another 800 students. So most of the time you see that the classroom needs to hold at least 40 people. So as in for the standard tutorial, so if we actually have everything that is all discussion based, I mean there will be some sort of less number of people being able to occupy the rooms. Yeah, so it's not very practical with you, but so by just initiating just this cluster, there's options you see for both classrooms that we use for standard tutorial and another which is cater to both tutorials and discussion oriented lessons.
So Prof, I'd just like to mention that actually for our pilot project, Fred, which is here at the meeting today, and Dr. Rasika Jadas has actually expressed interest in supporting our idea if you really wish to implement it. They actually said that they will hold their discussion-oriented modules in our classrooms at the start, so that we don't have to look for engineering teachers who want to try to adopt this new system. So they are very, very willing. So the demand is there. The demand from students are with illustrators there, and the demand from teachers are there. So it will definitely not be a white elephant. Yeah, if you decide to implement it. So be that convinces you.
So what was the number like in the pilot project? How many rooms are you talking about?
Yeah, we're talking about 2 rooms.
2 rooms?
Yeah, at E4. The most prominent, a very, very prominent location, which is at E4, 2 rooms, to get people interested and get people to notice that, hey, there's a change in engineering. And once they are happy with the change, they support the change, then we're looking to develop, like Arish has mentioned, Prof. Ashraf has planned to develop the space behind E4, which is also near the discussion room. So that those 2 rooms won't go to waste. They'll still be integrated as part of the bigger project.
Do you think it would be useful even to have these small discussion rooms? I mean, maybe different types of discussion rooms. For example, you're mentioning having the smart boards, which are quite costly. But you could have very cheap discussion rooms where you just have the power plugs in the floor, where you had cheap movable furniture. You could set up maybe 20 of those at very little cost. And there's so much space in engineering. I mean, now I'm speaking not as an engineering specialist, but just walking through the engineering faculty, you see so many places where you could build a room that's maybe 15 feet by 15 feet. That would at least allow student groups to meet at night. They'd have lights, a place away from the bugs, away from the weather. And you wouldn't necessarily need a smart board, but you could at least have places where students can meet, sit down, talk. It's not a picnic table in the middle of the rainforest.
Actually, whether to have the smart board is based on the budget. if we get enough budget, it's better to have that. If not, we can just have those simple desk and chairs and the whiteboard and something.
But I mean, I guess I see kind of two different needs. The one need is classrooms with removable furniture, the smart board. The other need that seems to be apparent is having a place where students can meet at any hour of the day, where they're not on a picnic table, where there are PowerPoints and just furniture with something other than a piece of wood. See what I'm saying? So it almost would make sense that we have kind of two levels of...
Yeah, our whole idea was to integrate both into a single concept, yeah. Because it's always possible to just upgrade the tutorial rooms and build up the new discussion rooms, but we thought this was one way to make both ends meet. You have better classrooms as well as a good place to hold discussions.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm like Radhika and I'm like even Ashraf. I'm sure almost all teachers would support this. But Noel, the other day I saw you. I was walking toward.
Oh yeah,
that area.
I saw you.
What is that area? Oh, I can't remember.
It's just outside the computer center, outside E5.
Yeah, the hallways are quite broad. I mean, actually, the hallway itself is this broad in this classroom. And I was thinking as I was walking there, actually before I saw you, I thought this is a perfect place to build. They could build kind of smaller discussion rooms, just like a scene.
Oh, yeah. Just.
Pardon?
If you were saying over instead of you remove all those department benches and have those rooms there instead.
Yeah. I mean, you could easily put in a room that would hold 8 people. For instance, in CLC, we have a couple of these tiny discussion rooms. They hold about 8 people each. It's kind of one round table and then 8 chairs, with the power plugs and everything, and where you can go in and sit and talk in a small meeting. If I'm having a small meeting, I can go in there. It's better than an office, because in an office it's hard to get 8 people. But there's so many student projects that might involve 3, 4 students. All you need really is a small space. So I see these, when you're talking about converting the classrooms, that is a major effort. And I think eventually it will be done, obviously, because the faculty is behind it. But at the same time, it just seems like students need, you're kind of talking about the need for a place where students meet. And it's not necessarily a place where 5 different groups are meeting at the same time. It's just a place where your team could meet at night. You have lights, you have power outlets, you can sit in it with your computers, even if there's a rainstorm, you're not afraid of getting wet. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, in our interview with Prof. Ang, I believe that he was concerned that having such things would actually make it a white elephant. And another thing
was
the rooms itself. Let's say the rooms are not used. He was very worried by having rooms proposals that were knocked back. So he was quite concerned about it, first thing. And second thing, he was very concerned. He mentioned multiple times to us, like budgeting was a very, very crucial factor. So I believe that when you build a new room in a faculty, it's under a building budget. So it's a whole new different budget to upgrading. So then they're going to ask you questions, why do you need this, and you need to substantiate things like that. So it's a more complicated process from conventional where you say, my classrooms are dirty, they need renovation, and I need a budget to upgrade the classroom. So that would be a little bit easier. Then with regard to that discussion cluster we're talking about, since they're already building that new building behind E4, they have plans to build it, so they can just integrate that into their proposal.
So that's what you're talking about. You're actually talking about putting the discussion cluster in that building.
In that new building, yeah. So what he's concerned about is whether the university will approve, just building something in the faculty from scratch, because that's a whole entire new budget and you need a proper proposal and everything. So for him, that was a major concern. But as students, of course, we would like to see that. So I would have loved it if they actually built one in the 4 years. But yeah, they had some red tape to go by.
Yeah, because also I mentioned, you need to have a lot of, go through all the process, right? But then, already we can see, why can't we just have more PowerPoint? Just as simple as that. Since that's our basic need already, so at the benches, a lot of it we can't find PowerPoint. So we were finding, why is it just so difficult to have PowerPoint? Just because you need people to lay the cables and you need to get approval. And these small little things that don't really seem a lot, but actually it amounts to something, so it has to sort of go through some process. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it all goes through a process, right? Even if you go from a central library to YSC, you walk down the steps.
YH.
Yeah, YH. Yeah, if you go down there, you see those picnic tables. I don't know if anybody ever uses them.
No PowerPoint. And
No PowerPoint.
Dirty. It's not monsoon proof.
That's the thing. If it rains, everything's drenched, and that, for me, it seems kind of a waste of space and a waste of.
Yeah, the picnic tables are there because so that people can't remove the chairs and tables. So because it's one, so that's the reason why they think it's safe to put it there without anything. So it's because it's safe. Nobody will take it away. It's quite silly, I know, but that's the same with locking all the tables actually.
Any other questions? Behavior and characteristics of quiet together.
You don't want to be.
No, I think a lot of the potential problems that we spot, right, have to do with the implementation phase. So right now, I think that we can only critique the concept. Like the graph that you all showed us earlier, right? You all surveyed the respondents, and the respondents said that most of them will actually just have their discussions in engineering. Who was it? Was it Michael? Yeah. Michael's part, right? Then he pointed out that a significant number of people went to other outside places. Actually, it's compared to the ones who are weaker in engineering. It's a bit like
So that side was multiple.
So everything doesn't add up to 100. You see. So they will select. So I can select engine, I can select art, everything. So of course, since everyone has engineering classes, they will actually select engine. But you can see that most of them, 30%, 1 in 3 respondents are going to YH, 1 in 3 are going to Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. So that's a very, very big drain of people away from engineering. And with regard to the student life department that we're going to talk to, what they want is that for engineers to create memories in engineering itself. So that's the main aim. They want to create good memories.
Yeah, you mentioned 85% of respondents want to have better discussion phases, right? More discussion phases. So how many respondents did you all?
83. We mentioned 80.
Yeah,
80, right? I was wondering whether that is really indicative of everyone in engineering compared to 700 in mechanical engineering alone, right?
Yeah, I guess the main thing that we actually had to filter out was a lot of the respondents, especially we had to have respondents from the Faculty of Engineering. So it was something very hard to do on SurveyMonkey because we have to filter, so we have to ask selectively who we want to interview. We can't just post something on Facebook because someone from arts will come in and then we won't get a very, very good statistic. So we won't get a very bad statistic. So that our survey was actually by invite only, so you had to be an engineering student to do it. So that's the most accurate thing you're going to get for now. Now the thing about not having a significant number was actually, Brad actually mentioned that engineering didn't want to send the email to a lot of students. So basically we didn't get a lot of support from the department itself. They only posted it on a notice board, e-notice board that I don't even know how to access myself. So that was a bummer, yeah. But hopefully after we actually previous ideas to student life and everything, then they want to send the email out for our survey. We most glad to restart our survey and give them a survey of however big a number they want, 1,000, 2,000. I don't know, yeah. So that's for the later stage, yeah. But